This episode starts with Pinkie Pie fawning over a cake that the cakes are going to be entering in a national dessert competition. Apparently they're not going with it though. Pinkie Pie is. It does seem odd, but someone has to run the business while someone else watches the cake. So it was either Pinkie Pie watch over a competition entry, or it was have her watch over the cake's livelihood. Getting the cake on the train is no easy task, and requires the assistance of all the main six and Big Mac. Pinkie invites the rest of the main six to accompany her to Canterlot for the competition. On the train, Applejack reaches for the cake, and Pinkie stops her. Then she begins talking about how amazingly wonderful it is. Now I'm hungry. Thanks for that, Pinkie. A few other bakers enter the train. We have Gustav the Griffin, who has eclairs. Then we have Donut Joe, with donuts. Maybe that's why the residents of Equestria have names that fit their talents so much. They can just change them on a whim. And finally, we have Mulia Mild. Nice reference. With a moose made of mousse. So the train gets going.
Well, it sure looks like we're in for a delicious competition tomorrow. Maybe we should all settle in for a good night's sleep.
Why? Since when did the ride to Canterlot become an overnight trip? You can see it in the distance. They've walked to Canterlot faster. Maybe it's a nitpick, but that's exactly what I thought the first time I watched this episode. And the first time I watch an episode, it's usually with my brain off. Pinkie stops her friends, saying that they have to guard the cake, believing that the bakers are going to sabotage it in the night. None of her friends believe her. Didn't we already have this lesson when Twilight was worried over nothing? You know, that they should at least consider their friends' concerns? Pinkie vows to stay up all night in order to keep the cake safe. She's looking mighty tired when someone runs past her, and she chases the shadow throughout the train to the back of the caboose, where the shadow disappears. Pinkie returns to find yet another shadow behind a door, and she chases it to the engine. Talks to the conductor. Ask him if you saw anything. Talk to the conductor. Ask him if you saw anything. No? Okay. Pinkie returns the cake, promising not to take her eyes off it no matter what. Then the shades go down and everything becomes pitch black. We hear someone munch and run.
Are you okay, Thief?
Alright, that line is pretty good. Give them a point for that. The lights come back on, and the only thing different is the painting. Then Pinkie falls asleep. She wakes up the next morning and marvels over the cake. Twilight comes in to find out that someone bit into the back of it. Pinkie decides that she has to investigate, and she nominates Twilight as her assistant because, well, she's Pinkie. I'm surprised she didn't nominate one of the bakers as her assistant. Pinkie claims that she already knows who did it, and her culprits are the bakers. Then she explains how each one of them did it in a pretty cool media reference, and they are worth 1 point each. And they get cartoonishly over the top in normal Pinkie Pie style. Of course, this episode is making Pinkie act a little more stupid than normal. There is a difference between zaniness and stupidity. Through logic, the bakers are put out of suspicion. Pinkie could have sworn it was one of them because their treats are still intact. And Pinkie describes them in the most delicious way possible. Damn it, Pinkie, now I'm hungry again. Surprise, surprise. The lights go out and all the treats get eaten. Yes, this episode is very predictable. We know who did it, and yes, I'll get to that later. Twilight switches places with Pinkie and tells her to find clues.
You were here at the scene of the crime all night. You're not accusing me, are you? No.
Why not? She was there all night, she kept talking about how the bakers might sabotage it, and was quick to accuse the competition. Not to mention that she herself has a huge sweet tooth. All evidence points to her. In fact, if you did that, the moral this episode is trying to teach, don't assume things, would have come on as even stronger, as we see what it could do to someone. Twilight simply asks her if she saw anything. And then they go retrace Pinkie's steps. They go looking for clues, and for some reason we're not allowed to see them. Even in a Sherlock Holmes story where the point of view is on Watson, he was allowed to see the clues, you know. No, they're not telling us the clues because it would make this mystery even more obvious than it already is. Oh yeah, instead of asking the conductor if he saw anything that night, they look under his hat. I don't know why Twilight isn't telling Pinkie anything either. It really comes off as condescending. And with this episode and baby cakes, it doesn't seem like Twilight holds a very high opinion of Pinkie. Then she has Pinkie call everyone back to the dessert car.
Why are we all here again?
Because someone ate your desserts. And Twilight has discovered who did it. Now we see the clues. Starting with the blue feather. And Pinkie blames Gustav because she wouldn't think the element of loyalty would betray her and eat the cake. Then Twilight reveals a pink hair. And Pinkie continues to blame Rainbow because she wouldn't think that the element of kindness would cruelly go behind her back and upset her reputation with the cakes. And finally she reveals an eyelash. And Pinkie continues to blame Fluttershy because she doesn't want to believe that the element of generosity would steal some cake that's not hers. Oh, but Pinkie made it look so good that they just couldn't resist. Oh, and by the way, one clue doesn't imply anything. Someone could have framed the three of them by stealing one of Rainbow's feathers, one of Verity's false eyelashes, and a lock of Fluttershy's hair while they were sleeping. There's still more evidence that points towards Pinkie.
Terribly sorry. Sorry, Pinkie. That's okay.
No, it's not okay. Sorries can't fix the cake. And would you look at that, Pinkie learned her lesson, and she finds out that the bakers ate each other's treats, because Pinkie made them seem just so good. You're professional bakers, you live around food. Then they make an abomination straight out of pastry hell and win the competition, and this episode fails. If you're going to write a mystery, don't forget logic. The characters keep abandoning logic to reach the conclusion they want. When you write a mystery story, you're supposed to write the ending first, but you still have to get there through reasonable results. This isn't my least favorite of Amy Keene Rogers' episodes, but objectively, it is her worst. I respect that she was at least trying to keep the ending hidden, unlike in May the Best Pet Win, where the ending was not only obvious, but blatantly obvious. And she did spice it up enough with media references and some pretty good lines of dialogue to avoid making me find this episode totally worthless. When I reviewed Dragon Quest, I stated that there was only one more episode I really hated, and this one isn't it. Yeah, I hate a Season 3 episode, and I only hate one of them. As for this episode, it's safe from my hatred because Amy Keene Rogers was at least trying. Granted, hiding the clues from the audience is probably the worst way you could have done it, but it's still better than Tortoise.